Well, ugly background, ugly me, let's go! Hey, you're watching Contentless content. My name is Laila, and today we're going to talk about Formula 2 and Formula 3 liveries because I cannot cover every feeder series, but still I want to talk about liveries because honestly we talk about liveries a lot in Formula 1. And in a lot of cases we either get the livery from last year and we're disappointed, or we get a worse livery than last year's and then we get disappointed again. Or in this year's case, we got a lot of carbon fiber liveries, which should be illegal, I think, because I mean, come on, this car needs to look beautiful. And honestly, I never really saw anybody make a great deal out of Formula 3 liveries, so here I am to change that. So we'll start with Charouz, which is PHM Racing by Charouz this year, and their livery looks wonderful. So I'm absolutely in love with this livery. I mean, it's one of my favorites this year. It operates really well, the sponsors look great, the whole car just looks extremely pleasant to the eye. I hope you can't hear this. There's some construction going on because I'm in Hungary and apparently that's what they do. And so I think this was a big step up from last year's car in Formula 2 because in Formula 3 they kept last year's livery, which I think doesn't look half good. So in overall, I will give Charouz like a 7 out of 10 because their F2 livery would be 10 out of 10 and their Formula 3 livery looks pretty generic and yeah, it's pretty boring. So next is amersfoort Racing, and actually they also used last year's livery, but actually I really like this one because I love when there's some black and then like really saturant color, like black and a neon color, and I think that looks really great together. So like the only flaw in this car is that I'm missing some texture, like you can see the amersfoort logo in the back of the car and some like orange lines, but I think this car could use some more. Also, it really stands out from the other cars because, well, first of all, Isten verje meg. Because first of all, it's black and we don't get a lot of like, it's not full black, but there's a lot of black in it and we don't get that often. Also, this orange is like really characteristic, so I will give amersfoort Racing a 9 out of 10 because the livery looks great and I love it. Well, it's been the same for like several years now. So with ART, we got 2 Academy liveries in Formula 2, and like the Alpine one looks kind of okay, but the Sauber one, I mean, I threw up when I saw that car. I mean, it looks so fucking horrible. I mean, I think one of the F1 Academy drivers have like a Sauber livery as well, and that doesn't look that bad. But in a Formula 2 car, that livery looks like vomit, like literally. I mean, I'm sorry to anyone who designed it or to anyone who likes it because you clearly don't have eyes, but it just looks so generic and ugly and cheap. Like it looks like one of those car toys that you can buy in a grocery store. And in Formula 3 they kept last year livery, which I wish I had back in Formula 2 now. For the Academy livery, for the Sauber Academy livery, I would like give like a 0 out of 10, but obviously that's not ART's livery. So for the ART livery, I will give 5 out of 10. I would give 6, but it's been the same. And also it's not my favorite. Like last year when Theo and Fred drove that car, I always felt like that car looks really weird. So for Virtuosi, they only have a Formula 2 team, and that looks really great. Like it's kind of similar to the Alpine livery, like the blue color. Like I thought it looked really great. Like I saw like pictures from the pre-season testing, and then they announced their new sponsor, and I can't really vibe with that because it's yellow. Okay, it's ugly yellow on beautiful blue, and Why would anybody do that to a beautiful car? I mean, that is literally a crime. I mean, Virtuosi would have gotten a 10 out of 10, but now with this new sponsor, I mean, placing is not that great either. I mean, they could have put it in a place where it kind of blends into the livery. I mean, it giving it like kind of a wave, you know? It looks like the Orlan logos on the AlphaTauri car. So I will give like an 8 out of 10 because that sponsor doesn't look right there. But still, it's only a sponsor. It's not really a part of the livery, and the livery looks great. So next is Dams, and their cars stay the same, and it's kind of the same as Amersfoort because I don't think it's plain black. I think it's like a darker shade of blue with a lighter shade of blue. But I like that they have like a lot of textures, like these kind of squares, and I really like that. I think for my taste, it could go a little bit more vibrant, but I mean, obviously, this car have its own merit. It's nice that they have a not too noticeable contrast. And I mean, for me, I can see why this car looks great or would be someone's favorite car, unlike the ART one, but it's just not really my style, so I will give it like an 8 out of 10. And next is Prema, and their car is really similar to the one they had last year, but also really different because they made this green stripe a lot wider, and that gave the car like a boost. And it was such a tiny detail that made the difference. And like last year, I would have said that the Prema car looked also kind of generic. I mean, I kind of like that they have an Italian flag, which I'm not sure is the Italian flag because like in Formula 4 or Formula Regional, they have a blue stripe, which is, well, weird. So it would be either the Dutch flag or the French flag. But let's assume it's the Italian flag. And now they made like this stripe wider and it looks so much better. And it looks more like a complete design with all the details in place and with everything just like clicking. And it's truly one of my favorite cars from my favorite team. This wouldn't be a real me video if I didn't do this. Prema. Also, I said last year, but last year they had two Red Bull liveries. Three, if I'm talking Formula 3 too. So I'm comparing it to the Formula 3 car. Also, that car looked really great in the Jetta lighting. I'm not sure if they changed the texture like to a more shiny thing, but it looked really great. So in F2, Carlin had two Academy liveries last year and two Academy liveries this year, so I can't really rate their progress. I mean, they have two Red Bulls now and they look horrible. I mean, with the sponsors that are like the 50 shades of yellow, it looks like a mess. It's really disoriented. I can't rate that because it looks terrible, horrible. I hate it. But in Formula 3, their livery looks kind of great. I mean, it's kind of like Dams. So they can be like sister teams now that Dams doesn't have a Formula 3 car. So for the Formula 3 car, I would rate that like an 8 out of 10, maybe a 7, like a 7.5. Next is MP Motorsport, and their livery is how I found out that Jehan Daruvela is not in the Red Bull Academy anymore. I mean, who was gonna tell me? But anyway, so they have this orange thing going on, and I think it's like pretty brave to like step out of this like comforting colors like white or red or blue or black. Like these are kind of safe colors, and they have this orange color that actually would look kind of great, but it doesn't. I mean, I couldn't really vibe with that. It looks pretty weird. I don't know why. It's just like a personal preference to me, but it's true that it's really distinguishable from the other car. So that's great. But to say something positive, I think that out of all the Red Bull liveries, because surprisingly they do not look alike, Dennis Hauger's is the best Red Bull livery. So I would rate this car like a 5 out of 10 because I like the effort, I don't like the result. Next is Hitech, who also have two Red Bulls in Formula 2. I mean, if Red Bull started a Formula 2 team, it would take up half the grid. But in Formula 3, they have this silver type of livery, which I think looks really like minimalistic, but it suits the car. I mean, not really the team, but the car. I mean, I will never get how Marcus Armstrong got into a silver car and was happy with it. And I mean, that guy deserved a better car and a better looking car too. So like Hitech for me is 7 out of 10 because there's not really much going on in that livery. It looks great, it looks shiny, and as you can see, I love silver jewelry, so that should be my car. So like last year's Campos wasn't my favorite either, but I kind of liked that they had a different approach to designing that livery. I mean, a lot of things on a car is either like really rounded or really squared. And they had this pattern with the squares going on, and it was like a little bit blocky. I don't know how to say that. And it looked great. And this year they have this rounded type of thing. And basically the car's characteristic vanished with that. So I think that was really a pity. Also last year they had two colors, so they color coded the cars, and one was this darker shade of green and the other was this lighter shade of blue. And now they went to a lighter green, which looked disgusting, and they went to a darker shade of blue, which looks better, but I think going with a lighter shade of blue gives more characteristic to the car. But if we're talking about speed, that definitely added up speed to the car. Also in Campos, I really like that there are two liveries and they are basically the same, but with different colors. So I think that's a plus point. So yeah, for me, this was kind of a downgrade for Campos, and for this I will give them a 5 out of 10. And the last car on the Formula 2 grid is Trident, and this car looks really generic. I mean, it doesn't have anything special. I never got these cars that didn't have like a specific pattern going on. So for me, Trident is kind of a bummer. Also, they using kind of safe and generic and neutral colors, blue, red, and white. And these are basically the safest colors to use, like in clothing, in cars, in basically everything. So yeah, for me, this car gives a not too much vibe. And for this, I will give them a 2 out of 10 because on top of all of this, it's the same as last year. And so the team that is only present in Formula 3, Jenzer Motorsport, they have like this blue top livery, and on the bottom they have like black. I don't have like a specific problem with this car. It's not my favorite. I don't hate it. It's just there. I mean, this shade of blue, I think it's not very fortunate to have it in this amount, like this many of this color, but their choice, right? So for me, this car is 5 out of 10 because it's basically in the middle. Maybe 6 out of 10 because you can recognize this car on track, and I will give a point for that. So thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye.
Wake up, I'm not ready, let me have another day. Don't wake up, keep it steady, cause I'm happy, I'm not gonna wake up. No, no,